to Qual's perspective. We're walking with Representative Mudaliar and his bodyguard, Mr. Zvatika. Zon, Brunhilde, Miss Hunter, Mr. Byrne, Miss Pereira, and the newly engaged couple all insisted on coming, causing Emiko to quip that she, Mudaliar, and I must be the best defended trio in the galaxy right now. No, you see, swords ain't the best weapon and never have been, explains Victor. Even historically, even if you limit it to melee weapons, spears have more reach, maces and warhammers hit with greater impact, and axes have better cutting potential. Edge ratio is about the only thing a sword has going for it in a fight. What the sword was is the best sidearm. The best weapon to have as a backup to your main one, or for when you went out not really expecting a fight but needing to be ready for one. At this point he cuts himself off and, along with every other Terran present, adopts a stance of readiness within a fraction of a second of each other. I managed to follow their collective gaze fast enough to see something billowing and black as it impacts the pavement in front of us, at a considerable enough speed to crack the paving slab beneath it. Svitika, Ziva, Leon, Zon, get these three to safety, commands Victor, loudly and authoritatively, before the hooded 2-meter figure has finished drawing up from their landing crouch. Toon, Samus, Fran, we'll hold him off. Before I've even processed what's happening, I feel a pair of long-fingered hands enclose my torso and wings, and my legs being lifted from the ground. I swivel my head to see that Zon is carrying me away. Mr. Mudaliar has been scooped up under Mr. Zvitika's arm, with the latter lopping away in a free-limbed knuckle walk. Emiko is the only one of the three of us who has been allowed to stay on her feet, though with the 2 intelligence officers in close order at her back, as we leave her bodyguard and my security team behind. Brunhilde's perspective. Okay, I'm seeing durasteel hands, 5 fingers, ugly predatory-looking claws, upright gait, like a Terran. No biological could have withstood an impact like that, so I'm guessing this is a cyborg. AIs tend not to go in for criminal enterprises, so I think they're quite unlikely to be a full droid. I suppose it could be a droid being remotely piloted by a person. Someone looking to target either Emiko or Mudaliar conceivably might have that kind of cash. Step out of my way, says the being, his voice harsh, computerized, male-coded and with a distinctly new Coloradoan accent and cadence. None of you are my targets. Let me pass, and you get to live. We refuse, shouts Fran immediately. I resolve to never threaten any of her charges in future, if we survive this. Good, answers the figure, his voice dripping with malicious glee. You've got rather a flair for the dramatic, don't you? I shout, stalling for time and hoping that one of the people Victor sent away is smart enough to be calling up some backup right about now. You could have come down right on top of us if you wanted maximum advantage. You could have started attacking the moment you came down. The figure doesn't answer, aside from turning his hood to me and peering out of the shadows with a pair of glowing red eyes above 2 rows of what looked like real, bare teeth. Don't suppose we get a name? Asks Victor flippantly. The figure turns to him before reaching up, unfastening his robe and then shrugging it off, to reveal a slender humanoid body, entirely made of durasteel. I quickly dismiss the idea that there might be any flesh in that torso cavity, or any of those limbs. There just isn't space for them. You can call me Death, says the man, whose black metal head is shaped like a skull, with what looks like a set of organic human teeth mounted into it. Victor bursts into slightly hysterical giggles for a few moments before shouting back, Wow! You're quite extra, ain't you? It's like talking to a personification of the concept of edge. I bet I'd have thought you were really cool when I was 14. Never imagined the Reaper having a States accent, though. Seeming irritated, In his body language, since his face seems completely immobile by my boss's total refusal to take him seriously, the cyborg responds. You imagined he sipped tea with his pinky extended and say pip pip cheerio. Off to the hereafter with you, did you, Limey? Suppose I did, shrugs Victor. No chance we could get you to surrender yourself to our custody and come quietly, is there, Mr. Death? None. The Revankists have requested the heads of both Zura Peacemaker Mudaliar and Emiko Smiles Miyazaki, and I mean to deliver them. Revankists? They're... Oh, fucking hell! Swears Victor. You're with those arseholes! You've heard of us, queries the assassin, sounding interested. Had a run-in with them late last year. Pirates and slavers. Suffice it to say, we ain't best disposed. Then it seems we have nothing more to talk about, doesn't it? Says the cyborg, as the sides of his thighs burst open, presenting two handles to his hands. He grabs the daggers, and they scream as he ignites them. Unknown's perspective. As she is the most threatening looking by a mile, the first one I aim for is the thickly armored charging cave woman. In that armor, she probably weighs almost as much as I did, before I had my torso and skull mechanized. The big dumb brute has stupidly left her face exposed, so that's where I aim. I draw back my left arm and with mathematic precision, launch it forward to hold the dagger, point first at her. Having forced my organic brain into an adrenaline rush, I have no issue processing the extremely granular sense data my bionic eyes are feeding me, as the blade flies at the woman who's out of time, in more ways than one. Her eyes are following the knife, and her left arm reaches up to try and snatch it out of the air by its handle. She doesn't succeed, but her attempt does manage to disturb his flight by enough that, rather than burying itself between her eyes, the point grazes the top of her helmet, leaving a streak of glowing liquid metal as it ricochets off. While I throw my other dagger at her stomach, I hold my left hand out, and the one that just bounced off her head immediately reverses its direction, returning to my hand. Fran, get down! Shouts the Limey, immediately obeyed by the cave woman as she throws herself into a crouch. The blade again skipping over the top of her helmet as it flies back to me, aligned perpendicular to its direction of travel. The one I just threw missing her trunk by an inch. She wastes no time in resuming her charge, throwing off her particularly molten helmet to reveal frizzy orange hair, tied into a bun and smoking from the heat that was being conducted through the Durasteel. That Brit is annoying me. When the blades return to my hands, I aim my next throws at him. The bastard snatches both of them out of the air, and without missing a beat, plunges them into the ground, angled in a way that would make them tough to attract back to me, even if he didn't extinguish them, causing them to quickly freeze in place. Alright, we're doing this the hard way then. I bolt forward. The cave woman with the smoking hair is still in the lead, even with the evasive maneuvers she had to take, so I aim for her. Despite how strong and heavy this body makes me, I tend to prefer an agile, acrobatic fighting style. In her case, though, I'm going to make an exception. Math question. What happens when 370 pounds of troglodyte in 100 pounds of Durasteel armor, travelling at more than 25 miles per hour, meets 650 pounds of almost all Durasteel, travelling at 45 miles per hour in a head-on collision? Answer. A sound like a church bell being struck rings out, as she's held backwards, and I'm more or less stopped in place. Her smoking hair finally catches fire as she lies on the ground. Her dazed moans turn to screams, so she beats up her own head in an attempt to pat the fire out. I'll worry about her again when she gets up. The Brit, the Blonde, and the Don are all on me now. Having looked up the subhuman species when I first saw it, I'm not taken off guard by the speed it ran at me with, or the lightning fast grab it makes from my wrist with his upper left manipulator. I let it grab me, and immediately grab it back, then spin my body, both breaking and dislocating its arm. It shrieks, but I can't finish it off, because the Limey's silver-gloved fist is flying right at my neck, and a shoulder tackle from the starborn blonde is coming right at my stomach. I whirl out of the way, aiming a slash at the Brit's forearm as I do. My claws skip harmlessly off the fabric, confirming it to be stab-proof.
Victor, I can't. It's too...
says the subhuman to the Brit, looking like he might be about to pass out from the pain.
If you can't fight, get out of here. Follow the others,
says the tall man decisively, keeping his unflinching gaze fixed on me. The blue-skinned creature gets up and follows those that escaped to the beginning of the fight, his upper left arm hanging limply behind his lower left. I'll chase it down, after I'm done with the others. The cave woman has managed to extinguish herself and rejoins the other two, large patches of angry, seared flesh visible on her scalp, where her hair is burned off. The three of them advance on me. I let them come. The blonde's torso and legs are covered with armor. So is the Trog's entire body, except her scorched head. The Brit has armored gloves and boots, as well as a few plates scattered strategically around his body, but, like I already saw, slashing and stabbing attacks won't be much good against his suit. I've already established every weak point to aim for, and how I'm gonna do it when they attack. Little Miss Stone Age goes low from my right, the starborn comes at me from my left, and the Brit charges my center. I step out of the way and direct a punch at the cave woman's temple. I feel her skull crack, and she visibly loses consciousness, her redirected motion making her momentous body almost tackle the Brit, who manages to leap over her as she goes down, and barrel into the blonde, who's temporarily pinned to the ground by the enormous weight. But I'm also hit with numerous damage notifications from the actuators of my right arm. That Trog skull must have been made of some really solid stuff. Just me and the Limey left now. I rush him. I reach out for his labels and he attempts to dodge. He would have succeeded too, if he wasn't fighting someone who could change the length of his limbs at will. He levels ineffective punches at me as I grab two handfuls of the material at the front of his chest and pull him close to me, extending my legs to make myself more than 7 feet tall, and leering down at him with the last face he's ever going to see, the skeletal face of death. I headbutt him, breaking his nose and cracking his upper jaw. He falls limp, but is clearly still conscious as I headbutt him again, knocking out 3 of his teeth. My brain is inside an inertially dampened container, inside my durasteel cranium, so I can receive head trauma all day. His, on the other hand, I wonder how many more impacts it'll take to finish him off.
That's quite enough,
comes a calm, level male voice from behind me. I turn to see who else wants to die.